Okay.
Yeah, Marlon Williams. Let me tell you about Marlon Williams. This dude is amazing. So I've interviewed him 2 or 3 times. I think 3 times. But the first time I interviewed him was in person, and he was in Kansas City promoting a movie years ago, and we took him to Comic-Con, the local Comic-Con, and interviewed him in front of a live audience. And he was so great. I was late for reasons that I won't mention on air. But I'll tell you that story backstage. But he waited for me. He wouldn't let them get started until I got there.
So y'all have developed like a friendship.
He's just cool people. He's
That's
really,
nice.
really cool. Yeah, and so our last interview, which you didn't see on air, was like before we got started, he was like talking about playing me and Miss Pac-Man and how he would smash me and Miss Pac-Man. I'm like, you don't know who you dealing with. So he's just very, very cool people. Yeah, really, really good.
I get that. I get that from him. He seems
That
like
genuine.
yeah.
I feel like all of them would be like, or just like that genuine spirit, that friendly, not Hollywood type of, you know.
They are a legendary family.
I'm about to say the whole family.
Yeah,
What's it
yeah.
like? How many kids do they have?
45.
Look,
I mean, you know, they got a tribe, and you know, a lot of times it's real hard, of course, growing up with all those siblings. But then they also have your back, and they're able to provide support in different areas. And I think that's what they did for each other. I mean, that's just me making an observation. What they did until they were successful. Yeah.
Heart of the Dot is all about our Black community, bringing the peace, positivity, and unity, giving our Dot people love and opportunity, shedding good light with my girl Chrissy MC.
Head up, toes down, with your chest out, fist out, stand proud, it's the time now. Don't die down, we some soldiers, we gon' lie down. We ride now, Heart of the Dot, yeah, we out.
This the Heart of the Dot, we climbing to the top. This the Heart of the Dot, the #1 spot. This the Heart of the Dot, we climbing to the top. The #1 spot, ayy. This the Heart of the Dot, we climbing to the top. This the Heart of the Dot, the #1 spot. This the Heart of the Dot, we climbing to the top. The #1 spot, ayy. Chrissy, me, Heart of the Dot, ayy, ayy, ayy.
everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Part of the Dot with your girl Mish and your girl. Hey! So we are sitting here with the beautiful, the legendary, very familiar face. Low key, LONITA Cook. How are you feeling?
It is awesome to be here. I am so happy.
Yeah,
Happy to have you here.
we are very happy to have you.
Thank you.
You look beautiful, very
Thank you. So to
Yeah.
you. So to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We love you. Y'all, the vibes are immaculate. Let's just say that.
We've been able to chit chat before the show, and yeah, we're very lifted right now with her spirit and just very inspired right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure. So LONITA has a very extensive resume of things that she does. I know when I first noticed what you did, I seen you on Better Kansas City. You're a host and you are a film critic for KCTV5. So I know y'all have seen her face. So how did you get started in becoming interested in wanting to be a film critic?
Ooh, that's a really great question. So I'm gonna tell you like this. I've only met one film critic, all the film critics that I know, who were like, I knew when I was 5 years old that I wanted to be a film critic. And it's like, whoa. Most film critics, I think, got into the work through different avenues, and that is true for myself. I started out as an actor, and I went to school in New York, and I learned some valuable lessons about myself and my interests. And though I love acting, I wasn't competitive, and I didn't take it seriously. If you want to be professional and play on the game, like on that field, you have to take it seriously. And you also have to, I think, be willing to make certain sacrifices that I wasn't willing to make for that. So I came back home and I said, what is it that I want to do? And I tried my hand at a few different things. And I realized the thing that I've been doing for free my whole life and just for fun was writing. And so I wrote one draft of a novel, and I joined a writer's group. And after my first critique, my most memorable critique, one of the people, and they all kind of felt the same, was this was my favorite part because it was over. Right. And so I stayed in that writer's group for 4 years, letting them refine me and teach me how to be a better writer. And so I also decided to self-publish. The industry was being changed, transformed by digital access to self-publishing tools. And the reason why I bring that up, and this is how I got into film criticism, believe it or not, is because one of the major changes was that the big six at the time, they were no longer providing budgets, marketing budgets for new writers. You had to build your own platform. And so in trying to build my own platform, I started contributing to a national online publication. I was reviewing books at the time, and I didn't know anything about reviewing books, like the tricks of the trade. And so I would be reading like this whole book and writing like this whole long review, and it would take me forever. And so I said, what can I do to post more and get a bigger following? And I said, I could watch a film a day and write a review. And so when I first started, I would go to the midnight screenings of movies. I would watch them and then write my review in the car and then post it so that it would be available on opening day. And then I went to the screening of Magic Mike, the first Magic Mike, and I said it was an advanced screening. And I knew the girls that were handling that advanced screening could get me where I needed to go. And I said, hey, I'm a film critic, I want to be a film critic, what I need to do to be coming to advanced screenings all the time. And then they referred me to my now friend, Cindy Rogers, who, and she just, from there, it's just been like, you know, and not just her, but I also interviewed a woman, Michelle Davidson, who is a filmmaker, actor, producer, very prolific. She was a previous co-host of the show Kansas City Live that was previously on Channel 41. And she brought me on as one of the film critics there. And so that's how I got into television. And so, yeah.
Because you took that step.
Yes.
You
I said, tell me what I gotta do.
You know what I love the most is that, you know, you started that.
Got these hands.
Oh my gosh, no domestic anything. But what I love about that story is that, you know, you said you went to the screenings and you wrote the review in your car and you put it out there. That's kind of how like what Caitlin Allen did, started with the reviews on the food and stuff like that, and then he became very big. Yeah. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to go do something in my car tonight. Okay, post it tomorrow. I'm gonna go on my Twitter, like, you know what, here's the thing. Big booty Michelle. Let me tell you about your tweets.
I want to ask you, what was the name of your first novel? What was the name of that novel that they were happy for it to be over? And also, what about that review made you want to keep going?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. So what made me want to keep going was not necessarily the criticism, although I will say, find a tribe. My writers group were people that I loved, and that's how I was able to stay with them for 4 years. But I had lost my job, and I had some CDs coming due. And so when my CDs came due, I took the money and paid all my rent for a year and my utilities and stuff out of that money. And I sat down and I took a year to write the first draft of the manuscript. And it was that investment that made me keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, because you put so much time into it. You're like, I can't turn back.
We scrimped and you know, it was like, you know, I didn't have a car. One of my, I'm gonna say what's up to Naomi Shu, because she would come pick me up for every single, you know what I'm saying?
Gotta love people like that.
She picked me up every week to make sure I got to our meetings for the writers' group for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that is somebody that truly believes in you, that wants to see you be successful.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to see you be successful, but they want to see you get out the part.
So they want no part of you, nothing.
Oh, that's such a blessing.
Yeah, she's a very huge blessing. The writers group, and like I said, because it really was an awful first draft. It was bad.
What was the name of it?
It's called.
She's like, I'm not trying to put it out there.
No. It's The Chronicles of Sin, Awaken the Sleeper. It is the protagonist is a vampire who was the intended Kandake of Kush, but she.
You mean you rolling out a vampire that likes to get high?
I love it. So Kush is the area that is where we call Nubia. So she was the Nubian queen, yeah.
The whole place.
I know.
It is. Oh, what is the name? You're gonna have to edit this part out. What is the name of this African country? It is. I can't think of it right now, but it's an African country right now with the name. I believe I can't remember. But so the name Candace comes from Kandake, and that's what they called their queens. Yeah. And so they did a lot of trade with Egypt, and they had a lot of similarities to Egypt, and one of them was that they had Jewish slaves, and she fell in love with hers, who had come to live with them when she was a child and he was a child, and they grew up together, but their love was illegal.
Because that sounds like it was hate.
I think I'm gonna get that after like, let's take a read at this. Wait a minute.
Can we still find that?
Yes. So I published the original version on Amazon, Awaken the Sleeper, but I've since released a digital version. It's a very old book. I wrote it, gosh, I think in 2008. Yeah, and so it's pretty old. My skills have since improved, I hope.
Actually, do you see yourself writing more books, possibly?
I love to write.
Or publishing.
Yes. And so right now I'm working on publishing a series of books where I'm not the writer, and it's what I'm calling micro myths. And so I'm working with other authors to do, it's kind of a superhero series. And then I'm also working on a DIY book. Yes.
She's gonna ask.
Ask me.
She got an idea. She got some on her brain.
But I'm gonna start. I want to make a show about Black superheroes.
Yes.
But I don't know the gist of it. I kind of like. Have you ever watched that cartoon Teen Titans? Yeah. So kind of like Teen Titans, but just all Black kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It made me really excited.
Yeah, no. I think that one of the most important things that we are seeing right now, and that I think that Black people in America, Black people all over the world, but Black people in America need to make sure that we are taking part in the bounty of creativity, is that we are now exploring different genres. And as we explore them more fully, we can move out of partnering them with the legacy of mentality in this country, but just kind of be where we can experience. So I'm an advocate for that.
Yeah, because it's like everything now is just so just seeing us just hurt and be in pain in this. We have to go through this, and it's this, and it's that, and it's like, why can't we have movies without getting married and randomly get hit by a car, and then this man gets out and helps me, and now we're married.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Just like little, like the happy endings. So
I agree with you. There are a lot of things that the ways that we see ourselves in the world, being in the world, where we are full and we've been able to evaluate what it means to be either a person or if we want to be something other than a person. We get to make those decisions and we get to exercise those decisions in the field of the imagination.
I love it.
So speaking of like different genres of movies and things like that, what would you say your favorite genre is, and what is like the best movie you've ever seen?
So that's a great question. My favorite genre, I'm gonna tell you right now. I think about stories in terms of your primary genre, which I think is either comedy or tragedy. I like comedies. I think about subgenres in terms of the ones we all know, sci-fi, romance, and then I think about categories like coming of age and on open road or whatever it is, right? And so I really like sci-fi. I like fantasy. I like action, so anything that blends action, or like in martial arts movies, don't play with me. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, she was at Three Ninjas when they was filming it.
The lady with the dragon sword.
Yes. Y'all are.
We won.
Okay, exactly. Well, since you asked about your favorite movie, what is the worst movie that you have ever seen?
I'm gonna finish answering this one.
She never gave us.
Oh,
My favorite movie.
I'm so sorry you didn't broke it down so much.
I'm about watching movies.
On the road.
I'm long-winded. Bear with me. So, my favorite movie of all time is Dune. You don't know this movie. I got it.
We're looking like never seen it. Okay,
Love it.
So, David Lynch's Dune, it is an adaptation of a series of books. And it came out in 82 or 84, something like that. And I used to watch it. I had it on VHS, and I would watch it with my mama. We watched it so much. We knew all the words, all the actions, all the blocking. And the central character, I see as a sci-fi telling of the coming of the Messiah. He is the salvation of the universe. And his name is Wadi. That's right. And my son's middle name is, guess what? Wadi.
wow.
So you love that movie.
Yeah, it's your favorite.
Movie. And how can this be?
Come on, get into it.
The Quizac Separate. The worst movie I've seen.
Went right there.
My favorite movie is Dune. My least favorite movie that I've seen, and that's a hard one because I tend to enjoy movies for some reason. For the longest time, my least favorite movie was A Clockwork Orange, but it was only because it's a beautifully done movie. It is masterful in its diagnoses. I don't even know what to call it. But I did not like the way it made me feel. I saw it as a child, and my mama should not have let me see it as a child. But as an adult, I've grown to appreciate A Clockwork Orange. I think Cats, that came out a couple years ago. What is this? Yeah. So and they did an on-screen adaptation of Cats. That was offensive.
Okay.
Yes.
I never heard of that.
Well, it was.
I only heard of the play.
Yeah. So they came out not this past December, but the December before with Cats. But it was not even finished. Like,
we remember that coming out because everybody hated it.
Yes, and I think it was offensive that they would release a movie that was unfinished. And it was like, well, what? But then like Jennifer Hudson was in it, who is beautiful, who is talented, and I know that she's playing a feline and not the kitty goddess, by the way. And so, not right now.
Okay.
Not right now. Okay. They want too much on a deposit.
Yeah, okay.
But the entire time that Jennifer Hudson was on screen, it was snot hanging from her face, like snot, actual snot. And I thought, who?
What do you mean? Like that was a part of her character?
Yeah, like she was crying the whole time, but it was like snot.
I'm gonna have to go home and watch this.
Yeah.
Just so I can get mad.
So I
really want to watch it to be mad.
I said, why would you do this now? Idris Elba was also in it with some brown fur, and he had looked at naked.
Now I might have to watch this one. Study it for me. Okay? I have to watch it then. Like, why?
Yes.
Okay. Cats.
I think I would have to say Cats.
Okay.
So I know you mentioned to me about being a filmmaker. So how has that experience been, and what type of genre of films have you created?
So I'll say this: I've only made short films and local short films, and the reason I made short films is to really understand what filmmakers do. I think a part of my responsibility as a film critic is to understand the filmmaker's process, and so I've been an actor in films. I've been a financier. I've been a producer and writer. And the genre that I like to work in is sci-fi. I mean, it really is. Like, my second favorite movie is The Matrix, like that kind of thing. So, but I've worked on, dramas, stuff like that. Yeah. But if when I make movies and it is my vision, like say for instance, it was a perfect world, and in this perfect world, Lonita's vision defined all, right? It would be sci-fi, most likely fantasy. There'd be a little bit of romance, maybe, from the B story,
So you like Game of Thrones?
I did not watch Game of Thrones.
Neither. I want to love it so much.
I haven't started it.
No.
I started it.
I've only seen one clip, and that's when the prince or something died, and I was like, I need to watch this show. He like died in the sunlight, and his eyes like it was. I was like, I need to watch it.
I'm not gonna lie, I do something that's very terrible. As a film critic, I watch so many films that when I watch TV, it's really for my personal enjoyment. And I usually watch TV shows from like when I was a kid or when I was a teenager. It's just a comfort. So I haven't like a lot of the big ones. I think the most recent, I watched a new show, like watched it all the way besides Ted Lasso. Now that's my favorite show. Ted Lasso. Y'all don't know this? We're gonna talk about Ted Lasso.
Okay, I was gonna say anybody does.
Yes, we gotta talk about Ted Lasso. But yes, I don't even know what I was gonna say. I said Ted Lasso, and now it's time to get you off track. It's time Ted Lasso is, do you guys have Apple TV Plus?
No, I'm not.
You do not, okay.
You mean like an Apple TV? You mean like the phone would turn into a TV you put up on your wall? No, man.
So Apple TV, they have a streaming platform just like everybody now.
Oh.
And it's called Apple TV Plus.
Okay.
And so Ted Lasso is a show on there. They're really new. Apple TV Plus is really new. And if the ceremony hasn't happened yet, it's up for some Peabody Awards. It won several awards this season. And it's 10 episodes right now. Ted Lasso is an American football coach, meaning football, who goes to London to coach what the rest of the world calls football.
Soccer.
Yes. And so it's a fish out of water show, and the main character is Jason Sudeikis, who is born and bred here. Let me tell you, it is the perfect combination of conservative and wild, right? It's uplifting. But it's like gully enough, it's grimy enough. Right. Now, my only thing is, and this is something that I'm talking about on my own website, is there are no black women in season 1. And for me, I typically don't stay invested in things that exclude black women. But it's something that there may be a remedy for season 2. But after the first episode, I was like, I gotta keep watching it. That's how good it is.
Like, you know what, you need a black woman, but I'm away.
I started Insecure last week and I was like, wow, this show it's everything. It hits home for the black family, the black friendships, black love, black relationships. I was like, wow.
Issa Rae?
Issa, yes.
Yeah. I watched a few episodes of Insecure some years ago when I think maybe when it first came out. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about it. I will tell you that Chocolate Brother.
Daniel, listen. If you're single and you're watching this,
If you're single and you're watching
this, a beautiful black man.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
What I like about Insecure is that it doesn't try to put us in a preppy, it's like real black thoughts. Like you at work and somebody's talking to you, you like, rush your pill.
Right. I love those parts. Exactly.
But you in your head saying that.
Right.
You're like, yes.
Her in the mirror doing her rap. I'm like me. So let's get into your website, which is theblackbbuzz.com. Give us a little background about that.
So blackbbuzz.com is, I have been very fortunate to be able to contribute to some really cool publications. And a lot of women who are my age, who may be in other fields, who may not have matriculated, didn't study journalism or film. They're interested in writing, they're interested in reviewing, they don't know how to get started, they don't know how to write, they don't know how to work with an editor, they don't know, and so it's not just a place for me to review and share my thoughts on the entertainment industry, to talk about farming, to talk about birthing, to talk about what a doula does, but to share what I know with other aspiring writers who may not have, accolades, and they may not be degreed up, and they may have degrees, but in like social work or something like that, but they're interested in entertainment. So I want to be a place that's black, that's about nature and the environment, and that's a little bit fuzzy.
And how did you come up with the name?
How did I come up with the name Black Bee Buzz? Well, a dear friend of mine owns Sankara Farm, And he did bring some bees to the farm. I will say for me.
Say it.
For me. But his partner, her child, kind of co-opted the bees, and he's a little boy, and so I'm like, all right, the bees are yours, the bees are yours. But and so I have always loved bees, butterflies, and that kind of thing. But I am centered on Black life, Black being, Black thought, and the conversations that we have, and defining what that means for different people and the different reasons why. So blackbeebuzz.com.
Make sure y'all check it out, please.
Check it out. Wait. Not gonna do that mama face.
Right.
I'm scared. I'm checking it out right now.
Right, like, oh, yeah, she's serious.
Yeah, she's very serious. I gave them time. That was what I was doing. I was giving them time.
Black Bee, and that's B-E-E, buzz.com.
Okay. Well, then that brings me kind of to the next question. I'm going to switch it up a little bit and ask you, with creating this, with being in the entertainment industry, how do you think that this has molded you as a woman and just as an overall person?
But that's a different question. And it is fantastic. It's very hard. Here's the thing. This is something that I don't talk about ever, actually. Is that I tend to have a very masculine energy, and that has been kind of difficult. I got these hands, they big, I got some big hands, I got these shoulders, they're a little bit broad, and so I am comfortable being more aggressive, but I've had to learn in ways how to be softer, how to be, I won't use the word demure, because I don't think that's ever.
I don't even know what it means. We don't even know what it is.
Okay.
She's like, we was going to share my vocabulary here.
Y'all do a job. One of my favorite words that I didn't know forever, and there's a bunch of words I don't know, but décolletage is a lovely word.
Giving French vibes.
Décolletage.
My favorite word is debonair. And quintessence.
Yes.
That means the purest form. I looked those two words up when I was 12 years old.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I also like berserk. That's a good word.
Like that's berserk.
Yeah.
I know that word.
Yeah.
You know that one.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, shaping me as a woman, I'm not gonna lie to you. I, as a young person, did experience the Me Too stuff. The casting couch is real. And I said no to stuff. And sometimes now I'm like, why you didn't just do it? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
You should have took them backstage. With silk.
Right.
With silk. Whoa, the group silk. Wait, what they do?
You could have been journalist.
Wait. Is this
For a journalist job.
where is this? Freak me, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Freak me, baby.
Hey.
Just like that.
I love it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and so the thing, I have an issue as a woman. There is a little bit being timid. So I have a very aggressive thing, but then I'm also timid. When I'm met with that kind of energy, it makes me shrink. And so, you know, being tougher, being softer in some ways, and, you know, and so, you know, it's really, I think the industry, but I have to say any industry, I think it's life, where you refine yourself against your experiences. Yeah. So.
And you know what? You saying that, defining yourself against your experiences, brings me to the next question I was going to ask you about. How do you feel about all of the movies, everything that's coming out now, showing nothing but Black trauma?
So I feel like this. I'm always confused by people that I respect when I see them applauding this. It always makes me feel like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I think that we have to decentralize brutality from Black storytelling. I think that Blackness has been the only ness that has been, I would say, with him, I would say, refused access to the universal story. I think that we have been mandated to keep it real. And stories are the places where we go to dream and imagine and desire and hope. And Black storytellers have been mandated to keep it real. This is what life is.
And we know.
And
we see, we live, we live it. Turn on the news, we get it.
Yeah, we are the only people who have been mandated to keep it real. Everybody else gets to go to movies and to novels and see the better versions of themselves. They get to see, you know, what they could be, what they would like to be.
Because you know you're never going to be an astronaut.
You know,
but you get to see them astronauts on TV.
Well, yes, that, but not just specific examples. I mean, the ways that we move throughout the world.
Yeah.
They get to see themselves being in ways that they themselves may not have imagined. We are forced to see ourselves in ways that have happened to us. And these are ways that have happened to us. And so I am not a fan, I'm not an advocate for that kind of storytelling. Now, what I do see is that we are reaching into different genres, you know, like sci-fi, like superhero, like, right? But still these narratives have brutality, historical brutality centered. And that part is what's problematic for me. We have someone else's brutality. When we talk about the barbarianism rooted in the history of this country, the way that we tell stories makes us responsible for it. When it's not our story nor our responsibility. And so I'm the kind of person that I've never understood why we say slavery is Black history.
Right. I know.
Yeah. It's not Black history. And the furthest we'll go outside of that is to say it's American history. Well, if that's what we can be comfortable with, we have to stop defining Blackness by someone else's definition. And that is the most insidious act. Maybe not the most insidious act, I'm being dramatic.
She ain't talking about the movie.
I'm not talking about, but it is an insidious act to take away your right to define yourself and then tell you, I'm going to define you. And then everything that you are, you're going to become me. And that has to be removed from the way that we approach storytelling, and it has to be removed from the stories themselves. That's where I stand on it. And that is a part of the reason why Black B Buzz blackpeopleinamerica.com is I have something that I'm developing on the site. It's still a developing site. It's not full-fledged. So you go to some tabs and they're completely empty. But the cookie test on blackbebuzz.com is the way that we will measure how stories that have Black people living in them, how they treat their Blackness. And we are setting a standard, and that standard is, the violence that happens by Black people isn't gratuitous. The violence that happens to Black people are Black people in the scene just to receive the violence.
They definitely get killed first in the movie.
Get killed first, and not just that. So
I'm saying no.
I mean, it's true though. It's true though. But so one of my all-time favorite movies is Fright Night, the original Fright Night with Chris Sarandon, and I loved this movie. And my favorite scene is the club scene. And as a kid, it was another movie that I knew all the words to. That my mom would be like, "Do it, man!" I'm like, "Okay." And I'm sneaking and watching Fright Night. And so, but as an adult, I watched it, and there are 3 Black people. One of them is a cop who we don't particularly like because he goes against the protagonist, and we are in for the protagonist. And then there are 2 Black bouncers. This vampire, any violence that the vampire has done up until this point has been implied or cut away from. When he commits violence against these 2 Black bouncers, it is the time when we see it happen. He slashes their throats with his claws, and we see those gashes go across their throats. We don't see that to any of the non-Black characters. And I said, whoa, is this weird, or am I going cuckoo? And so what we have for me is little kids processing violence against Black flesh.
This is all majority.
Yeah. And that has to stop.
Every time I see a movie with us in it, and it's just a few of us, I'm like, oh, we always say, we already know what's about to happen. Like, the black people always, something bad happens to them, and they die.
Yeah.
Within like the first 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Not even 30 minutes of the movie.
That's why I like that new Netflix series, Beyond, the little boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That is special.
Yeah.
Mostly because of Michael B. Jordan.
He's too young for me. I'm not going to talk about him.
That's why I love Dion, because it just gives that representation that we can be so much more. Even when he has all these bad people coming after him and his mom are like, they are getting it. They tried to make, I thought that it was starting off like, oh God, his daddy's not around. Okay, you say, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
That's not the case at all. I can't wait for the next season.
Yeah.
Because he is going to get to his dad. And I love Dion. I have a boy too, so
Yeah.
it speaks. I be like, let's watch this now. Watching this. Watching Power Rangers.
No more Power Rangers. Yeah, so another thing that the cookie test does is also, when we talk about Blackness, there's a huge conversation right now about who owns Blackness. Is it Black people in America, or is it the Black Brits, or the first generation Nigerians, or
Yes, it's all over Twitter.
It is
the blackest of the black
who is the blackest of the blackest. And so what we do is make sure that I'll say this, we give you extra points if you represent Blackness in a global way. If you show the many facets of Blackness. I believe there has been an agenda to separate Black people in America from the diaspora. I will say, you can take this down if you want, but I met this guy who, you ain't got to take it out, who was, whose father I think was a diplomat, and I believe he was from Nigeria. This was years ago. And this was the first time I had ever heard this, right? And he was talking to us, we were interviewing him for a documentary called Sisters for the Brotherhood. And he let us interview him. And in his interview, he said, all over the world, Black Americans are despised because we see America as land of plenty. He said for a long time, I believe that the streets were actual paved in gold. And we see you as parasites on this country. And this was a Black man from an African nation. And it broke my heart, and I cried right there in his face. And it was the first time I had ever heard it, and I will never forget it. But what also happened was my own prejudice that I had been conditioned with up until that moment, where we had been taught that they were all super poor, that they were dirty, they had the pot bellies, they had the flies flying around their head, the nappy hair, they had super AIDS, all the stuff that we are taught about them. And I said, isn't this something? I think all this about them, and it wasn't something that I thought like in a malicious way. It was something that I've been taught was the truth. We need you to send this money to them, right? Because they are, if you don't, they'll die, right? You know, and so that's what you think is happening in Ethiopia, you know, and then you realize that around the world, according to him, but then you see it again and again and again after that initial introduction. And it's like, whoa, they don't consider themselves Black because they don't want to be related to us. And so for me, it is important that in entertainment, we are bridging that. In entertainment, that we understand that Blackness is shared. And I have a really, there's this really great critic, Katia Woods, and she is a Black critic, and she's from Brazil. And she's born and raised in Brazil. She lives in the States, but she's lived in Germany. And she is very articulate about having a global perspective of Blackness. And I think that is very important. And then the other thing that we think about is showing intimacy, Black on Black intimacy. So if we are looking at Black on Black violence perpetually, then you have to balance it with Black on Black intimacy. That there has to be camaraderie, true camaraderie between people. And we know it can be depicted because we see it depicted in other movies. And so that intimacy between men, and I don't mean sexual intimacy, I mean trust. I mean, I really got your back, I'm for real, rah-da-da, like, and then romance, right? And that for me, you know, I have dated interracially most of my life. I love Black men, but I do date interracially. And the first time that I ever understood that there might be something, not just like prejudiced people, like not just racist people, like don't mix, right, crossbreed, like not that, but I read an article in Essence magazine years ago, like 20 years ago, and this woman who was a Black Brit was writing about the fact that this was in the early odds, and she was saying that the only Black shows that they had was shows from America from the 90s, like Moesha, like Fresh Prince, and they weren't producing new Black content. And in that article, she had talked about this odd delineation of Blackness, her best friend at her job was a white man. They hung out all the time. They did lunch together every day, whatever. She met his family. They were best friends. And then she started dating someone. And he was like, oh my gosh, you're dating someone. You got to bring him to the family picnic. And when she showed up, she brought her man. They had a great time. And then the next day at work, her best friend wasn't talking to her anymore. And she was like, maybe I'm cray-cray, you know? And
Because you met because I want a black man.
yeah, exactly. He was black. She was black. And he told her, I don't understand. You are good enough for a white man. Why you would be with a black man? And I thought,
You mean you're good enough to be with this black woman?
yeah, and exactly. And I had never thought about that. And so then when you look at somebody like Will Smith's career, where early on he's playing opposite Regina King, but then all of a sudden he's no longer playing opposite black women as his star is catapulting. For me, I found that to be a curious thing. And then you see, you'll have a black man in the scene, but not a black woman.
Yes.
You know, and and I'm not saying you have to always have a black man and a black woman, but we are, I think,
Need that representation.
of black love.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people, the photograph with Lisa Ray, that came out a couple years ago, was not the best film, but I think that people needed it because it wasn't slave-based, it wasn't crack-based, it wasn't gang-based, and it was a bunch of black folks, and it was a romance, and it was, you know.
I think Save the Last Dance was a good representation of interracial dating and, you know, how we as black people truly feel about it. But in the end, you know, it's about you love who you love. And they ended up together and, you know, there were issues throughout their relationship and things like that. But in the end, you know, they it's like forget what they're saying, we love each other, and we've been through this, we've been through that. So I think that was a good representation of interracial.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that there should be representation of interracial relationships. I'm not saying that. I think that starting to exclude black intimacy is problematic. When we are categorically showing interracial relationships on the big screen and in television and streaming, then we have to start saying, okay, are we going too far?
Because that even, sorry to cut you off, but it even brings me to the point of when iPhones first came out with emojis, right? You know, all the emojis were yellow. Well, it's not, there's no color, you know what I mean? And then even now, still to this day, the family emojis, you cannot change the colors to the family emoji. You can change the boyfriend and girlfriend, the this, that. Once you start getting to the kids and this, you cannot change the colors of it. And it's like, why do you not want to represent the black damn right? And that's why I like that show, Good Girls. That is something I love about that show, is that husband and that wife are thick, they're there. You know, they're not even. It is so easy for like movies to show when they do show a black relationship to show the arguing, the toxic, the this, the that. But even in their worst moments, they like, all right, how we going?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I love Good Girls. That's my movie show. It's a show.
It's a good show.
I know what you're talking about. I have seen that. Yes, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that being in this industry, I think that you see that more. It's stuff that you didn't pay attention to before, and now you have to pay attention to it. You know what I mean? It's something that you look at like, oh, hey, you know.
Right.
I want to go to space.
Yes.
You know, like, yeah.
Yes.
And just
Yeah, I mean, like, it's so many debates. So, like, adding, and back in the day, back in my day, we called it ebonics, or jive talk, or whatever black speak is, right? Adding that, is that representation? Or is it stereotyping?
definitely.
So we have to have.
You think that this is how all? Sorry, good job. Did you think this is how all black people?
Right.
You think I'm about to walk up to Misha like, "What's up, my nigga?"
Right. What's up, girl? Loud.
But then the thing is like I said it. I grew up 2 blocks from Quindaro. Like I can get in with the best.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, is it not representation? Because I actually act like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we do have to have the conversations. There is no one answer, but we have to be able to make those decisions amongst ourselves. And the industry as it's set up, I don't think is conducive to allowing black people to construct their own narratives.
Because that's just like that Asian lady that wrote that new movie that's on Netflix, where the man keeps having the exact same dream over and over and over and over and over of getting killed by this police officer. So an Asian lady wrote the story originally. Somebody, you know what I'm talking about, picked up the story, and now that story is the one that's on Netflix and famous. And she is mad about it. But it's like, woman, what makes you think that you can even write about this experience and know what it feels like? And what, like, from what viewpoint are you telling this story? Because you can't relate.
So the industry is I think what you're talking about is maybe a little different because I think you're talking about 2 separate things. I'll say that. I think you're talking about 2 things at once. So the one thing is an Asian woman in a position to write black characters, or should black people be the only ones to write black characters? These are great questions to ask, and I don't have an answer for them. I know my preference is that, at least the players, the actors in theater, no matter what the play is, if you want to cast an all white Raisin in the Sun, I guess I don't care. If you want to cast an all black, a Doll's House, I guess I don't care. Because it's theater. I always say if you have one block of 8 theaters and they all did a Doll's House, you would go to 8 theaters and get a completely different production. I think there's something different about film. I think that film is more concrete. And I think that it kind of solidifies an image in your mind and in your belief system. And so we still have to always have those conversations. But then I think you're also bringing up an interesting point about how the industry functions, about intellectual property and how to protect that intellectual property, or when a project gets away from you, and it happens all the time. It's
I don't care about the project getting away from her. Good. Because we should do it. No, I'm just playing. Kidding. A mess. Okay, but no, not that I don't feel like other races should be able to write black characters, but it is the trauma behind it. What would inspire you to wake up one day and say, let my Asian self write a movie about a black man getting killed by the police? And maybe because it's trending right now. But
that's absolutely why.
And it's just like, why do you want to get onto that? I mean, I know you're gonna make the money with it.
Because that's the hard question. Like the thing that I hate and love about capitalism is that it really is about finding a solution to somebody's problems, right? So I say Walmart is Walmart because they have a solution for just about every one of your problems. Your car breakdown, Walmart got an automotive center. Your breath stink, Walmart got toothbrushes.
You go grocery shopping.
You need some food, you hungry, Walmart got that hamburger.
They monopoly.
Okay.
They are monopoly.
They have a solution for every single one of your problems. And in exchange for providing that solution, you pay them, right? That's the marketplace. Well, on the flip side is exploitation. It is the same, it's the flip side of the same coin, you know, but the marketplace is vigorous and it's, you know, invigorating. And, you know, I think it's probably healthier to kind of look at it as a game, you know.
Target.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. You know, learning the rules of the game, you know, have a team.
I'm glad you said that. Because I want to be famous talking some stuff.
I mean, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know the thing. Right.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you know, it is a business, and you will hear so many professionals iterate. It is show business. The emphasis is on business, and business is you have a problem. I'm going to find a solution. Your problem right now is you think cops are killing black people. My solution is to depict that on screen. Well, what that means is I'm going to make money because this is capitalism. Yeah,
We
exactly.
about to write a movie tomorrow.
Yeah, this gonna be up. Never mind, we ain't gonna say. I ain't gonna say.
Please. Because I know when you can go sometime, you know them. Don't just.
You gonna write it in private. Right. We just only gonna show that picture now. That's it.
Y'all can do it. Y'all can do it. I would be very interested to see a script of the two you wrote. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
challenge.
Challenge.
Let's do it. Definitely.
We making a movie, y'all.
Okay. Like I said, so we doing it. We doing it.
Make it work.
So then, saying all of that, it brings me to what is, with all of that we just talked about, what is a very valuable lesson that you have learned while being in the industry?
So yeah, the lessons are many, and I'm still learning. I'll be honest with you, I'm still a baby in the industry. Like, you know, I don't have all the connections. I don't have all the, you know, what's the word I'm going to use here?
Jimmy said,
We can start saying real plugs and connections. I mean.
No. It's you know, I think the biggest lesson is to just be. Are we going back to the beneficial things?
Yeah.
Going back to, yeah. Let's do that because for.
hold on, because we ain't even mentioned. First of all, this is the only black woman on TV every week as a movie critic in the country.
This is true.
We have to give those roses before y'all listen to this lesson.
Yes.
Okay? So know that this lesson is valid.
Y'all crazy! I love it. So, I like to focus on not just success, but benefit, right? I like to not just focus on being a benefit to other people, which I enjoy doing. I try to be service-based. But I like, so my favorite scripture, if you can say that you have a favorite scripture, from the Christian Bible, is in Romans, the book of Romans. All things are permissible, but not beneficial, right? And I try to be somebody who leaves things better. When I join an organization, I like to get better. I like to learn while I'm here, right? Because I can't imagine that I would go back to school. So I like to learn from the people there, but I also like to leave something behind. You know, a process, a philosophy, a way to do things, a method, you know. Yeah.
I love that because it just goes into your legacy, what you will be known for. You know, and I don't think that people think about those things.
Right.
But I talked about this last week. We went to an EP release party for Judy Truth, which is a local artist, and everybody that I interviewed had something to say about how much he inspired them. You know, and when we just see our peers, we don't know them in the ways that people that you touch, you know, like we don't know them in those ways. So to just hear that, it makes you really think, if I left this world today, what is it that people would think of me? What would they have to say about me? What have they learned from me? And that is so important.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. And I think it is important, you know, to surround yourself with people who want to benefit you. So,
Yeah.
Great.
So this is the last question.
Okay.
Every single day, you have to wake up. We're gonna put in a movie scene.
Okay.
All right. We going I Am Legend.
Oh. Let me tell you, after I saw I Am Legend, I could not go down to the bottoms for years.
Okay, all those buildings. Okay, because let me see someone screaming out that window.
Like, now, wait a minute.
I was like, this look like Will Smith is gonna come out of here with some zombie vampires.
Especially do the haunted houses down there, scare scene, but I go. Okay, I still go. I get it. What would your rule of thumb every single day be when you wake up?
Are you asking me what it is now? Yeah.
Right, what it is now,
What it is?
but in the movie I Am Legend.
Oh, in the I Am Legend, it would be the same. Because my rule of thumb is you got to wake up and express gratitude. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to wake up. Thank you, God.
Yeah.
You got to wake up.
Oh, regardless of the challenges you might face today.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. It's that's how I set my day. You know, I got a lot of stuff going on. You know, and the way that I center myself, the way that I steel myself, I'm a highly sensitive person. And the way that I protect myself is to wake up in gratitude. It's got to be the first thing I do. And there are some days that I don't. And I'll be feeling all wobbly, you know, and unfocused and stuff like that. It's the way that I center myself, is to just go down the list of things I'm grateful for and things that I don't know to be grateful for. I ask, please reveal me. Yes. So
My prayers too, girl.
Okay.
All the time.
yeah.
Even the blessings that I don't even know are blessings. That's what I say.
Thank you for it anyway.
Yeah. Exactly.
Ooh.
Exactly.
We got to be. We're gonna be very successful. We're gonna be official.
Because everything is permissible and nothing is
Nothing is beneficial. Well, I do want to mention that I am the president of the Johnson County Arts and Heritage Museum Foundation.
Okay.
And that we are open, and there are camps open for the summer. And so check us out online. Come out and see one of our exhibits. So yeah.
Heart of the Dot is all about our black community, bringing the peace, positivity, and unity, giving our dot people love and opportunity, shedding good light with my girl Chrissy MC.
Head up, toes down, with your chest out, fist out, stand proud, it's the time now. Don't die down, we some soldiers, we gon' lie down. We ride now, heart of the dot, yeah, we out.
This the heart of the dot, we climbing to the top. This the heart of the dot, the number one spot. This the heart of the dot, we climbing to the top, the number one spot. Ayy. This the heart of the dot, we climbing to the top. This the heart of the dot, the number one spot. This the heart of the dot, we climbing to the top, the number one spot. Ayy. Chrissy, me, heart of the dot, ayy, ayy, ayy.